Captain Lyra Veltheros looked out at the burning planet below. New Thessia was dying. The cities that once shined like jewels were now black craters. Smoke rose from what used to be homes, schools, and parks where children played. The Craxi had come 3 days ago, and nothing would ever be the same. "Captain, we're getting more distress calls from the surface," said Officer Kento from his station. His blue skin had turned pale with fear. "The shelters are failing. The Craxi bioweapons are eating through the barriers." Lyra closed her eyes. For a moment. Bioweapons. The Craxi didn't just kill people, they turned them into food. Living people became fuel for the insect-like aliens who swept across the galaxy like a plague. 3 worlds had already fallen to them. 3 entire worlds with billions of people, all gone. "How long do we have?" Lyra asked. "The orbital station's shields are at 30%, reported Chief Engineer Vex. His forearms moved quickly over the control panels. "The Craxi are sending more bioships up from the surface, maybe 6 hours before they break through." 6 hours. Lyra had seen what happened when Craxi took a space station. They didn't just kill the crew. They used them to grow more bioships, living metal that breathed and bled. Ships that could heal themselves and grow stronger by eating their enemies. The door to the bridge slid open. Admiral Thros walked in, his old face showing the weight of defeat. He had commanded fleets for 50 years, fought in a dozen wars, but nothing had prepared him for the Craxi. "Any word from the Altarians?" Lyra asked. "They refuse to help," the Admiral said, his voice flat. "They say the Craxi are too strong. They don't want to risk their own worlds." "What about the Korvaxi warriors?" "The same. They call it a tactical impossibility. Even the ethereals won't come. They say interfering would upset the cosmic balance." Admiral Thros sat down heavily, in his chair. "We're alone, Captain. The galaxy has decided we're not worth saving." Lyra felt anger rise in her chest. The Zephyrian Confederation had been peaceful for 300 years. They traded with other worlds, shared knowledge, helped smaller civilizations grow. When the Craxi came, they had thought surely someone would help them fight back. They were wrong. "Sir, we could try to evacuate the remaining cities," suggested Officer Kento. "With what ships?" Admiral Thros asked. "Half our fleet is space dust. The other half is running on backup power. We can't even get past their patrol groups." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of failing systems. Outside the windows, more Craxi bioships rose from the planet's surface. They looked like giant insects with wings of living metal. Each one carried thousands of Craxi drones ready to swarm any ship that got too close. "The emergency beacon," Lyra said suddenly. "The galaxy-wide distress signal. Did anyone respond?" Communications Officer Zara checked her screens. 17 civilizations received the message. 16 said no. She paused. There was one response, though, from somewhere called the Terran Republic. "Never heard of them," Admiral Thros said. "What did they say?" It was short. "Just help is coming, hold your position." Officer Kento made a sound like a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "Terran Republic? That's probably some tiny colony world with a few patrol boats. What can they do that the Altarians can't?" "Maybe nothing," Lyra said, "but they're the only ones who answered." An alarm started beeping. On the main screen, a new group of Craxi bioships was rising from the planet. These were bigger than the others. Hive ships designed to carry queen larvae to new worlds. Once those ships reached space, they would spread to other star systems. The Craxi would grow stronger while the Zephyrians died. "Weapons status?" Lyra asked. "Plasma cannons at 40% power," reported Weapons Officer Dal. "Energy shields are almost gone. If we fight those hive ships, we'll lose. If we don't fight them, other worlds will die," Lyra replied. "Ready all weapons." "Captain," Admiral Thros said quietly, "we can't win this. Our technology isn't advanced enough. Our weapons can't punch through bioarmor. Our shields can't stop their acid attacks. We're like children fighting adults." Lyra knew he was right. The Zephyrians had always focused on peaceful technology, art, medicine, exploration. They had never needed to build weapons designed for total war. The Craxi lived for nothing else. But someone had to try. "All ships, this is Captain Veltharos," she said into the communications system. "We're going to buy the surface more time. Attack pattern Delta 7. Focus fire on the hive ships." The remaining Zephyrian ships moved forward. 12 vessels against 50 Craxi bioships. It should have been suicide, but they had nowhere left to run. The first exchange of fire lit up space like a deadly light show. Zephyrian plasma beams struck bioarmor and barely left marks. The bioships returned fire with acid streams that ate through hull plating like it was paper. 3 Zephyrian ships died in the first minute. "Shields down to 15%, shouted Chief Engineer Vex. "Hull breach on Deck 7. More bioships rose from the planet. The Craxi were bringing everything they had. This was the end of the Zephyrian Confederation. 300 years of peace and progress finished in a week. Unknown ships approaching. Communications Officer Zara called out, reading multiple contacts at the edge of the system. "Craxi reinforcements?" Admiral Thros asked. "No, sir, the energy signatures are different. These ships are strange. I've never seen technology like this." On the screen, new shapes appeared against the stars. They weren't the smooth bioships of the Craxi or the elegant curves of other galactic civilizations. These ships looked like metal boxes covered in weapons, ugly, crude, and built for one purpose: war. "This is Admiral Jake Morrison of the Terran Republic," came a voice over the communication system. The accent was unfamiliar, but the tone was calm and confident. "We received your distress call. Sorry we're late to the party." "Admiral Morrison," Lyra said, hardly daring to hope. "We're glad you came, but I should warn you. The Craxi are extremely dangerous. Their biotechnology is beyond anything we've seen." There was a pause. Then Admiral Morrison laughed. It wasn't a kind laugh. "Biotechnology, huh?" he said. "Well, Captain, let me tell you something about humans. We've been killing things that wanted to eat us for 1,000,000 years. These bugs picked the wrong species to mess with." The human ships moved forward, and the galaxy would never be the same. The first thing that surprised Captain Lyra was how the human ships moved. They didn't glide through space like most advanced vessels. They pushed forward like angry beasts, engines burning bright blue fire. The lead ship was massive, bigger than anything the Zephyrians had ever built. Admiral Morrison called it the TRS Independence. "All human ships, this is Admiral Morrison," came the voice over the communications channel. "You know the drill. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and don't let any of the bugs get away." "Copy that, Admiral," replied another voice. "Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez leading Fighter Squadron Alpha. We're going in." Lyra watched in amazement as small human fighters launched from the larger ships. But these weren't like the elegant fighters other civilizations used. They looked more like flying weapons platforms covered in missile pods and gun turrets. The Craxi bioships turned to face this new threat. The insect aliens had never retreated from any enemy. Their bioarmor could heal from energy weapons. Their acid attacks could melt through any known metal. They had destroyed 3 Zephyrian worlds without losing a single major ship. The humans opened fire. What happened next made Officer Kento drop his jaw in shock. Instead of energy beams or plasma bolts, the human ships fired solid metal bullets. Thousands of them. The bullets moved so fast they glowed white-hot from friction. "Kinetic weapons?" said Weapons Officer Dal. "But those are so primitive. No one's used bullets in space combat for centuries." The Craxi bioships tried to heal from the damage, but there was too much of it. Their living armor couldn't regrow fast enough. Holes appeared in their hulls faster than they could close. Green blood leaked into space like toxic rivers. "This is Rodriguez," came the fighter pilot's voice. "The bugs don't like getting shot full of holes, who would have thought?" One of the larger Craxi hive ships moved to attack the human fighters. It opened its mouth like weapon ports and sprayed acid in a wide arc. 2 human fighters got caught in the stream and started to dissolve. Lyra expected the other human pilots to retreat. Instead, she heard Rodriguez laugh. "That's it, ugly. Keep your mouth open. Rodriguez aimed his fighter straight at the hive ship's mouth and fired every missile he had. Then he kept flying straight at the bioship. "Rodriguez, what are you doing?" Admiral Morrison's voice crackled over the radio. "Giving this bug some indigestion, sir." The fighter pilot crashed his ship directly into the hive ship's weapon port. The explosion came from inside the bioship, tearing it apart from within. The massive creature died in seconds, its bio-armor unable to heal damage to its vital organs. "Did he just, suicide attack a hive ship?" Officer Kento whispered. "Rodriguez here," came the pilot's voice, surprising everyone. "Ejected at the last second. Could use a pickup when you get a chance." Admiral Thros stared at the battle in disbelief. "They use ramming attacks as standard tactics?" More human ships joined the fight. They brought weapons the Craxi had never seen before. Chemical explosives that poisoned bio-armor. Burning metal that stuck to living ships and wouldn't stop burning. Simple, crude weapons that somehow worked better than the galaxy's most advanced technology. Dr. Lisa Carter's voice came over the communications from one of the human ships. "Admiral, I'm reading the alien communication patterns. They use chemical signals to coordinate attacks. If we can disrupt their pheromone networks—" "Do it," Admiral Morrison replied. The human ships launched clouds of strange gas into space. When the Craxi bioships flew through the clouds, something went wrong with their coordination. Ships that had moved like a perfect swarm suddenly flew into each other. Their formation fell apart as individual ships lost contact with the group. "Mind, beautiful," Dr. Carter said with satisfaction. "Simple chemical warfare. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways." The Craxi tried to adapt. Their bioships began to change, growing new armor plates and different weapon types. It was what made them so dangerous. They could evolve during battle to counter any threat. But the humans had an answer for that too. Captain Ben Collins led a group of human soldiers onto a damaged Craxi bioship. Instead of trying to understand the alien technology, they planted explosive charges throughout the vessel and blew it up from inside. "Collins here." His voice came through the radio. "These bug ships are tough on the outside, but they're still just meat inside. Meat burns real nice." The battle raged for 6 hours. The Craxi threw everything they had at the human fleet. Bio-titans the size of space stations. Swarm ships that could split into hundreds of smaller attackers. Acid clouds that could eat through any known metal. The humans had answers for all of it. When the Bio-titans appeared, the humans fired nuclear missiles at them. The radiation poisoned the living ships faster than they could heal. When the swarm ships split apart, human point defense guns filled space with so much metal that nothing could get through. When the Craxi used acid clouds, the humans flew right through them, their crude armor somehow holding together better than advanced energy shields. "How are they doing this?" Admiral Thros asked. "Human technology looks so primitive compared to ours." Communications Officer Zara had been listening to human radio chatter. "Sir, I think I understand. They're not trying to be advanced. They're trying to be effective. Listen to this." She played a recording of Admiral Morrison talking to his weapons officer. "Sir, the aliens are adapting to our plasma weapons. Then stop using plasma weapons. What should we use instead?" "I don't care. Rocks, if that's what works. The goal isn't to look smart. The goal is to kill the enemy before they kill us." Captain Lyra began to understand. Other civilizations fought wars like chess games with honor and rules and elegant strategies. Humans fought wars like survival itself depended on it. Because for them, it always had. Dr. Carter's voice came over the radio again. "Admiral, I've identified a weakness in their command structure. The Craxi use a hive mind system, but it has a critical flaw. If we can target the right frequency with our radio transmitters—" "Do it." The human ships began broadcasting on a specific radio frequency. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Craxi bioships started flying in circles, their pilots confused and disoriented. "Their brain chemistry is disrupted," Dr. Carter explained. "Humans evolved with radio frequency sensitivity for lightning detection. We're basically giving them the worst headache in galactic history." The tide of battle turned completely. Craxi ships that had seemed unstoppable began retreating toward the planet's surface. Some crashed into each other. Others simply stopped moving, their crews too confused to function. For the first time in decades, the Craxi were losing. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the communications. All ships pursue and destroy. Don't let any of them escape to warn the main fleet. Admiral, Captain Lyra said, surely some of them will surrender. There was a long pause before Morrison answered. Captain, these bugs ate 3 of your worlds. They turned billions of your people into food. You really want to give them a chance to do it again? Lyra thought about the burning cities below, about the children who would never grow up, about the families torn apart by creatures that saw other life forms as nothing more than resources to consume. No, she said quietly. I don't. The human. Ships chased down every fleeing Craxi vessel. None escaped. The battle ended with Craxi bioships burning across the new Thesia system, their green blood forming clouds in space. Admiral Morrison's ship moved alongside the Zephyrian command station. Captain Veltheros, this is just the beginning. We've hurt them, but the main Craxi Empire is still out there. If you want our help finishing this, we're going to do it the human way. What does that mean? Lyra asked. It means we don't just beat the enemy. We make sure they can never threaten anyone again. Ever. Captain Lyra looked at the burning Craxi ships and realized the galaxy was about to learn something new about warfare. Something the humans had known for millions of years. Sometimes the only way to have peace was to make war so terrible that no one ever wanted to fight you again. 3 weeks after the first battle, Captain Lyra stood in the command center of a human ship for the first time. The TRS Independence was nothing like Zephyrian vessels. Where her people built ships with art and beauty in mind, humans built them for war. Every surface was covered with weapons, armor, or equipment designed to kill. Welcome aboard, Captain, Admiral Morrison said, shaking her hand with a grip that was surprisingly gentle. How are your people holding up? Better than expected, Lyra replied. The evacuation of New Thesia is almost complete. But Admiral, we need to talk about what happens next. Morrison nodded and led her to a briefing room. The walls were covered with maps of Craxi space and tactical displays showing enemy positions. Other human officers were already there, including people Lyra had only heard about in radio communications. Captain Ben Collins looked exactly like she had imagined. Tall, muscular, with scars on his hands and a calm way of speaking that somehow made everything sound dangerous. Colonel Amy Foster was smaller but carried herself like a predator. Dr. Kevin Hayes appeared more like a scientist, but his eyes held the same cold focus as the soldiers. The situation is simple, Admiral Morrison began. The Craxi have pulled back their border fleets to defend their core worlds. That gives us a chance to hit them where they live. Hit them how? Lyra asked. Captain Collins leaned forward. Ground assault. My Marines are ready to take Craxi colonies and destroy their breeding facilities. Can't make more bugs without queen mothers. Ground assault? Lyra felt shocked. Captain, no one fights Craxi on the ground. Their bioweapons are too dangerous. The acid, the poisonous atmosphere they create, the sheer number of drones. That's why no one beats them, Colonel Foster said with a slight smile. Everyone tries to fight Craxi the way they fight other civilized species. Clean battles in space with honor and rules. But Craxi aren't civilized. They're an infection that needs to be burned out. Dr. Hayes activated a holographic display showing Craxi biology. We've studied their weaknesses. Their exoskeletons are strong against energy weapons but brittle when exposed to certain chemical compounds. We can make weapons that specifically target their biology. Chemical weapons? Lyra asked. But those are banned by the Galactic Accords. The Galactic Accords assume your enemy follows the same rules, Admiral Morrison said. Craxi eat people, alive. They turn children into biofuel. You think they care about our rules? Captain Collins pulled up another display showing human equipment. My troops have environmental suits that can handle acid, poison, and biological contamination. We've fought in environments that would kill most aliens just from breathing the air. But the numbers, Lyra protested. Each Craxi world has billions of drones. Numbers don't matter if you know where to hit, Colonel Foster said. Every Craxi colony depends on central hive structures. Take out the queen mothers and the drones become confused and weak. It's like cutting the head off a snake. Dr. Hayes added more data to the display. We've also developed biological weapons specifically designed to target Craxi genetics, viruses that corrupt their bioships at the cellular level. Once infected, their own technology turns against them. Lyra felt disturbed by how calmly the humans discussed genocide. You're talking about exterminating an entire species? Yes, Admiral Morrison said without hesitation. That's exactly what we're talking about. The Craxi have had centuries to learn to coexist with other life forms. Instead, they chose to be parasites. Some infections can't be cured. They have to be eliminated completely. The briefing continued for hours. The humans had planned everything in detail. They would attack 12 Craxi worlds simultaneously, targeting breeding centers and command structures. Special weapons designed to poison bioships. Tactics that no civilized military would ever consider using. There's something else you need to understand, Admiral Morrison said as the meeting ended. Once we start this campaign, we don't stop until every Craxi world is dead. We don't take prisoners, we don't accept surrender, we don't leave survivors who might rebuild their empire later. That's extreme, Lyra said. Captain Collins spoke up. Captain, on Earth we have a saying, kill or be killed. The Craxi made their choice when they decided other species were food. Now they get to live with the consequences. 2 days later, Lyra watched the first human ground assault from the bridge of a support ship. The target was Mordak 7, a medium-sized Craxi colony world with 2 billion drones and 50 queen mothers. The attack began with orbital bombardment, but not the kind other species used. Instead of precise energy weapons, the humans dropped simple, metal rods from orbit. The kinetic impact created earthquakes that collapsed underground hive structures. Phase 1 complete, reported Captain Collins from the surface. Seismic charges have disrupted their tunnel networks, beginning Phase 2. Human dropships landed in the chaos, carrying Marines in heavy armor that looked more like walking tanks than environmental suits. They moved through acid fog and poisonous spores like it was a normal day. Contact with enemy drones, Colonel Foster reported. They're trying to swarm our positions. Lyra watched the battle through drone cameras. Thousands of Craxi drones rushed toward human positions, their acid weapons and cutting claws ready to tear apart any normal soldiers. The humans opened fire with weapons that shot burning chemicals. The drones' exoskeletons began to dissolve. Those that got close enough to attack found that human armor was designed to handle environments much worse than anything Craxi could create. These suits were built for fighting in active volcanoes, one Marine said over the radio. Bug acid is nothing compared to molten rock. Dr. Hayes had been right about Craxi psychology. Without constant direction from queen mothers, the drones became confused and disorganized. Human troops used this weakness, targeting command pheromones with chemical attacks that left entire swarms wandering aimlessly. Queen Mother Complex, located, reported a squad leader. Beginning termination protocol. Lyra watched in fascination and horror as human soldiers moved through the Craxi breeding facility like they were cleaning out an infection. No mercy, no hesitation, no concern for anything except completing their mission. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, Mordak 7 was silent for the first time in 3 centuries. Colony eliminated, Captain Collins reported. No Craxi. Survivors. Moving to next target. Similar reports came in from 11 other worlds. Human forces had attacked across the entire Craxi border, and every assault was successful. Billions of Craxi died in a single day. Admiral Morrison found Lyra in the observation deck staring out at the dead world below. Having second thoughts? He asked. I'm trying to understand, Lyra said. How can you do this so easily? Don't you feel anything for the lives you've taken? Morrison was quiet for a moment. Captain, my species spent millions of years as prey. Animals. We were hunted by creatures bigger, stronger, and more dangerous than we were. We survived because we learned to be more vicious than anything trying to kill us. He pointed at the planet below. Those bugs down there chose to be predators. They decided the galaxy was their hunting ground and every other species was food. They had thousands of years to make a different choice. And now? Now they're extinct on 12 worlds, and we're just getting started. Because that's what humans do when something tries to eat us. We eat it first. The Craxi Empire received news of the attacks with shock and rage. Never before had anyone penetrated their territory. Never before had entire colonies been destroyed so quickly and completely. Craxi Emperor himself called for full mobilization. Every bioship, every weapon, every drone would be brought to bear against these new enemies who fought without honor or mercy. What the Emperor didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for this war their entire evolutionary history. Every predator that had ever hunted their ancestors had taught them something about survival. The Craxi were about to learn the most important lesson of all. There's always something bigger and meaner in the food chain. And sometimes it's been waiting millions of years for the chance to prove it. The Craxi Emperor stood in his biothrone chamber, surrounded by the greatest minds of his empire. For the first time in 1,000 years, he felt something his species had almost forgotten: fear. The holographic displays showed devastating losses across 12 colony worlds, not just defeated, completely sterilized. No survivors, no bioships, no trace that Craxi had ever existed there. How many drones were lost? He asked his War Mother General. Approximately 50 billion highest. One, she replied, her insect voice clicking with distress. Every Queen Mother on the attacked worlds is dead. The humans used chemical weapons that specifically target our biology. And their losses? Fewer than 10,000. They fight in ways we have never encountered. They ignore all tactical doctrine, use forbidden weapons, and show no concern for honor in battle. The Emperor's mandibles clicked together in thought. In 3 centuries of expansion, the Craxi had never faced an enemy that could match their biological advantages. Other species tried to fight with energy weapons and shield technology. These humans used simple kinetic force and chemical warfare. Primitive methods that somehow proved devastatingly effective. Bring me intelligence on their homeworlds, the Emperor commanded. We will show them what happens when someone challenges the Craxi Empire. 3 days later, the information arrived. The human home system was called Sol, containing several worlds including their birthplace, Earth. The intelligence reports described a species that had evolved from persistence hunters, spending millions of years as both predator and prey. Fascinating, the Emperor said, studying the data. They are not naturally strong like the Corvaxi, or technologically advanced like the Altarians. They are survivors. That explains their tactics. War Mother General gestured to the tactical displays. Highest one, we could destroy their homeworlds with our planet-killer bioships. End this threat before it grows stronger. No, the Emperor said. First, I want to capture some of these humans alive. I want to understand how they think, how they fight so effectively against superior numbers. Then we will consume their entire species and add their strengths to our own. The largest Craxi fleet in history began moving toward human space. Every available bioship was recalled from border duties. Ancient hive ships that had slept for centuries were awakened. The Emperor was bringing enough force to destroy entire star systems. Admiral Morrison received the intelligence reports in his command center aboard the Independence. The approaching Craxi fleet was massive, over 3,000 bioships of various sizes, including 37 of their largest hive ships. It was 10 times the size of any force the humans had faced so far. Opinions? Morrison asked his staff. Captain Collins studied the tactical data. We can't fight that many ships in a straight battle. They'll overwhelm us through sheer numbers, so we don't fight them straight, Colonel Foster said. We fight them smart. Dr. Hayes activated a display showing the Craxi fleet composition. I've been analyzing their bioship designs. The larger vessels require constant support from smaller ships. They're like a single organism, dependent on all parts working together. Meaning? Morrison asked. Cut the connections and the organism dies. We don't need to destroy every ship. We just need to disrupt their coordination badly enough that they can't function as a unit. Commander Sarah Blake, who had been quiet during the briefing, finally spoke up. I have an idea. It's dangerous, but it might work. Blake outlined her plan. A small human force would infiltrate Craxi space using captured bioships infected with human-designed viruses. While the main Craxi fleet was approaching human territory, Blake's team would attack their primary shipyards and breeding facilities. "It's a suicide mission," Captain Collins said bluntly. "Maybe," Blake replied. "But if we can take out their production centers, they can't replace losses, and if we plant these viruses in their communication networks—" She gestured to data Dr. Hayes had prepared. "The infection will spread to every connected bioship in their fleet." Morrison considered the plan. It was exactly the kind of desperate, aggressive strategy that had made humans successful so far. Instead of playing defense, they would attack the enemy's strength while he wasn't expecting it. "Do it," Morrison decided. "Blake, take volunteers, only. No one goes who doesn't understand they might not come back." "Sir," Blake said with a slight smile, "we're humans fighting bugs that eat people. None of us expected to come back anyway." While Blake prepared her infiltration mission, the main human fleet made ready for the largest space battle in galactic history. They couldn't match Craxi numbers, but they had advantages the aliens didn't understand yet. Lieutenant Commander Sam Rodriguez led fighter squadrons equipped with new weapons Dr. Hayes had developed. Instead of trying to destroy bioships directly, the fighters would deliver payloads designed to poison the ship's biological systems from within. "Remember," Rodriguez told his pilots, "these aren't ships in the traditional sense. They're living creatures. Hit them in the right places and they'll die like any other animal." The first engagement took place near the outer edge of human space. The Craxi fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their bioships moving like a single organism. They had expected to find human defenses clustered around planets and space stations. Instead, they found nothing but empty space and floating debris. "Where are they?" the War Mother General asked, studying sensor readings from the flagship. "The humans should be defending their worlds." The answer came in the form of weapons fire from behind the Craxi fleet. Human ships had been hiding in asteroid fields and behind space debris, using simple stealth technology that biosensors couldn't detect. "Ambush!" the Craxi commander clicked, but it was already too late. Human forces hit the Craxi fleet from 6 different directions simultaneously. They didn't try to engage the massive hive ships directly. Instead, they targeted the smaller support vessels that the larger ships needed to function. Rodriguez led his fighters in strafing runs against bioship communication organs. Each successful hit disrupted the coordination between ships, turning the perfect formation into chaos. "This is Rodriguez," came his voice over the radio. "The big ugly ships are having trouble talking to each other. Keep hitting their communication nodes." Nuclear missiles streaked through space, their primitive guidance systems immune to the bioship's electronic countermeasures. When they detonated, the radiation poisoned large sections of the living vessels, creating dead zones that couldn't heal. But the humans' real advantage was their willingness to take casualties. When Craxi acid weapons dissolved human fighters, the pilots would ram their damaged ships into enemy vessels rather than eject. When human cruisers were overwhelmed, they would self-destruct in the middle of Craxi formations. "These humans are insane," the War Mother General reported to the Emperor. "They fight like cornered animals, no sense of self-preservation." "Then we will teach them to fear us," the Emperor replied. "Deploy the planet killer ships. Destroy their nearest world as an example." The massive planet killer bioships moved toward a human colony world called New Detroit. These creatures were the size of moons, designed to literally devour entire planets. They had never failed to destroy their targets. But as they approached the planet, something went wrong with their navigation systems. The bioships began flying in circles, their pilots confused and disoriented. "What's happening?" the Emperor demanded. "Unknown, Highest One. All our planet killer ships are experiencing system failures." The answer came from Commander Blake's voice, broadcast on all Craxi frequencies. "This is Commander Sarah Blake of the Terran Republic. While you've been fighting our fleet, we've been in your home system, planting viruses in your shipyards and communication networks. Every bioship connected to your network is now infected." The Emperor watched in horror as reports came in from across Craxi space. Their most secure facilities had been infiltrated, Their primary breeding worlds were under attack. Somehow a small force of humans had penetrated defenses that had protected the Empire for centuries. Impossible, he clicked. Our biosecurity is perfect. No alien technology can infiltrate our networks. You're right, Blake's voice continued. No alien technology can. But we didn't use alien technology. We used modified Earth viruses, adapted to target bioship neural systems. Congratulations. Your entire fleet just caught the common cold. Across the Craxi fleet, bioships began to malfunction as human viruses spread through their nervous systems. Ships that had fought perfectly suddenly couldn't maintain formation. Communication broke down as infected vessels spread the virus to healthy ones through normal contact. Admiral Morrison's voice joined the broadcast. Craxi Empire, this is Admiral Morrison. Your fleet is dying, your shipyards are destroyed, and your home worlds are under attack. Surrender now, and we might let some of you live. The Emperor felt something he had never experienced before. Complete, helpless rage mixed with terror. His empire, built over 1,000 years, was collapsing in a matter of hours. Never, he transmitted back. The Craxi will fight to the last drone. We will make you pay for every world you take. We figured you'd say that, Morrison replied. That's why we came prepared to finish this permanently. The final phase of the battle began, and the galaxy was about to witness some 6 months after the first battle at New Thessia. Captain Lyra stood on the bridge of her rebuilt ship, watching the final Craxi world burn. The planet below had once been home to 50 billion Craxi drones and 300 queen mothers. Now, it was silent, its biocities reduced to ash and poison. Final sweep complete, reported Captain Collins over the communications. No Craxi life signs detected. The world is clean. Clean! That was the word humans used when they had completely eliminated all traces of Craxi life from a planet. Lyra had heard it dozens of times over the past months as human forces systematically destroyed every Craxi world in the galaxy. That's the last one, Admiral Morrison said from his command ship. 312 worlds, every Craxi colony, every outpost, every hidden base. Gone. The extinction of the Craxi Empire had taken less than a year. What had seemed impossible when they first arrived at New Thessia was now complete. The most feared species in the galaxy was simply gone, as if they had never existed. Admiral, came Dr. Hayes's voice over the communications. I'm reading some interesting data from the planetary surface. The bioarchitecture they built contained genetic templates for dozens of other species. Apparently, the Craxi kept samples of every civilization they'd conquered. Can we restore any of them? Morrison asked. Possibly. It would take years of work, but we might be able to recreate some of the extinct species. Give them a second chance at life. Lyra felt a strange mix of emotions. The humans had done something no one thought possible. They had completely destroyed an galactic empire. But they had also preserved the possibility of bringing back species that had been lost forever. Do it, Morrison decided. Set up research stations on suitable worlds. If we can bring back even one extinct species, this war will have been worth something more than just revenge. As human ships began to spread throughout former Craxi space, representatives from other galactic civilizations finally arrived. The Altarians, who had refused to help fight the Craxi, now wanted to study human tactics. The Korvaxi warriors, famous for their honor in battle, seemed nervous around human soldiers. Admiral Thros joined Lyra on her bridge as they watched a delegation of galactic powers approach the human fleet. What do you think they want? He asked. They're scared, Lyra replied. The humans just did something the entire galaxy thought was impossible. Now everyone's wondering if they might be next. The first diplomatic meeting took place aboard the Independence. Representatives from 12 major civilizations gathered to meet with Admiral Morrison and his staff. Lyra attended as a witness to humanity's first appearance on the galactic stage. Ambassador Kel Zara of the Altarian Republic spoke first. Admiral Morrison, on behalf of the Galactic Council, we want to thank you for eliminating the Craxi threat. Your tactics, while unusual, were clearly effective. You mean brutal, Morrison replied without emotion. You can say it, We know how the rest of the galaxy sees us. Your method saved billions of lives, said General Vaxtor of the Corvaxi. But many are concerned about your species' approach to warfare. You show no mercy to enemies, take no prisoners, and use weapons banned by galactic accords. Captain Collins, who was sitting next to Morrison, spoke up. General, those accords assume your enemies follow the same rules. The Craxi ate people, alive. They turned children into biofuel. You think we should have been polite about stopping them? There's also the matter of your rapid expansion, added Counselor Marinsek of the Ethereal Collective. Human colonies are already being established on former Craxi worlds. Some are concerned about your intentions. Morrison stood up slowly. Even though most aliens were taller than humans, something about his presence made him seem larger than everyone else in the room. Let me make something clear, he said, his voice calm but carrying an edge of steel. Humanity didn't ask to be involved in galactic politics. You called us for help when your civilized approach couldn't handle the Craxi. We came, we solved your problem, and now you're complaining about our methods. No one is complaining, Ambassador Kelzara said quickly. We're simply trying to understand. You're trying to figure out if we're going to do to you what we did to the Craxi, Morrison interrupted. The answer is simple. Don't try to eat us, enslave us, or destroy our worlds, and we'll get along fine. Start acting like the Craxi, and you'll end up like the Craxi. The room fell silent. Several alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. However, Morrison continued, his tone becoming more diplomatic, humanity isn't interested in conquest for its own sake. We have enough empty worlds to keep us busy for centuries. What we want is trade, technology exchange, and peaceful cooperation. And if cooperation isn't possible? Asked General Vaxtor. Morrison smiled, but it wasn't a friendly expression. Then we'll stay in our space and you stay in yours. The galaxy is big enough for everyone. Dr. Hayes activated a holographic display showing human territorial claims. We're establishing colonies on worlds the Craxi destroyed or left uninhabitable. Our terraforming technology can restore dead worlds to life. We're not taking anything that belongs to other species. Your terraforming technology, said Counselor Marinsek with interest. Would you be willing to share such knowledge? For the right price, Morrison replied. We're not giving away the technology that keeps us safe, but we're willing to trade, for mutual benefit. The negotiations continued for hours. By the end, humanity had been granted membership in the Galactic Council and trading rights with most major civilizations. In return, humans agreed to respect existing territorial boundaries and share certain medical technologies. But everyone in the room understood the real agreement. Humanity would be left alone to develop their space, and they wouldn't interfere with other civilizations unless threatened. After the aliens left, Lyra found Morrison standing in the Independence's observation deck, looking out at the stars. Do you think they'll keep the peace? She asked. For now, Morrison replied. Fear is a powerful motivator. But eventually, someone will test us. Some civilization will decide we're too dangerous to exist, or too valuable to leave alone. What happens then? Morrison turned to look at her. The same thing that happened to the Craxi. We don't start fights, Captain, but we always finish them. 3 years later, Lyra received an urgent message at her new command post on New Thessia. Pirates from the Outer Rim were attacking trade. Roots and the traditional galactic powers couldn't stop them. The message was simple. We need help. She forwarded the message to Admiral Morrison, along with her recommendation that humanity respond. His reply came back within an hour. On our way. As human ships prepared to deal with the pirate threat, Lyra reflected on how much had changed. The galaxy had called for help against the Craxi, expecting some minor assistance from an unknown species. Instead, they had unleashed something that rewrote the rules of galactic civilization. Humanity had proven that advanced technology and elegant tactics weren't always enough. Sometimes, survival required the willingness to do whatever was necessary, no matter how brutal or primitive it seemed to others. The pirates who were threatening galactic trade were about to learn this lesson. So would anyone else who thought humanity's victory over the Craxi was just luck? Dr. Carter, now leading the effort to restore extinct species from Craxi genetic archives, sent regular reports about their progress. 17 species had been successfully recreated, and their new colonies were thriving on restored worlds. It's ironic, she wrote in one report. The Craxi preserved the DNA of species they destroyed, probably planning to recreate them as slaves or food sources. Instead, their archives are giving those species a second chance at freedom. Commander Blake, who had survived her infiltration mission despite the odds, now led human intelligence operations. Her job was to monitor galactic activities and ensure no new threats like the Craxi could develop unnoticed. The galaxy is more peaceful now, she reported to Morrison. Species that used to fight each other are cooperating to avoid drawing human attention. Fear of becoming the next Craxi is keeping everyone honest. Captain Collins had been promoted to general and now commanded human ground forces throughout their territory. His Marines were legends among galactic military forces, soldiers who could fight in any environment and never retreated from any enemy. We get requests for training all the time, he told Morrison during a staff meeting. Every military in the galaxy wants to learn human tactics. I tell them the same thing. Every time, you can't teach someone to fight like a human unless they're willing to think like a human. As the years passed, humanity's reputation grew. They were seen as the ultimate problem solvers, the species you called when conventional solutions wouldn't work. But they were also feared, respected, and given a wide berth by anyone with hostile intentions. The galaxy had asked for help and humanity had answered. Now everyone had to live with the consequences of unleashing a species that had spent millions of years learning to survive by being more dangerous than anything trying to kill them. And in the depths of space, Admiral Morrison continued to prepare for whatever threat might come next. Because he knew something the peaceful species of the galaxy didn't understand. The universe was not a safe place, and only the strongest would survive to see tomorrow.